Hey, it's this old outboard. 1972 Johnson 25 horse Resurrection. Let me tell you a little bit about this thing. I bought this old outboard from a young lady. It belonged to her father, who had recently passed away. I was willing to pay her $150 for it, but she let me have it for $80. Of course, it didn't look like this when I first got it. It was actually hanging in her father's shed by a huge chain. It had been there for so long that it was actually warped. The midsection rubber mounts were all warped and cracked and just an absolute mess, and there was nothing I could do to straighten them out. There was no way I could save the midsection, but luckily I had one laying around that I was able to use. I got it all mocked up and got her up and running and took her down to the lake, and well, she ran pretty rough. So it was time to do my thing. Now I like to start with the carburetor, give it a real good cleaning, and make sure everything looks good. Then move on to the ignition. Check all my electrical. Points were looking good on this, so I didn't need to replace them. But I did have a problem with water in the gear case. So I pulled it apart, sealed it up with silicone, and put it back together. Hopefully that was going to work. Water pump looked good. Old impeller still looked pretty good. So I used them. Next, pulled the power head apart, double checked everything, and it looked great. All I needed was some new gaskets. So I ordered up a gasket kit, just a basic kit, cleaned everything to a shine. Always like it nice and clean. Bing, bang, boom. Pistons and cylinder walls looked great. Resurfaced the head. And of course, a new gasket. I also went ahead and ordered a new thermostat and a new gasket. Well, I got everything pretty much put back together and decided to put some paint on this baby. Here's the power head, all primed up and ready for paint. And here's the midsection I was talking about earlier. It actually came off an old 18 horse, just some parts I had laying around. All the rubber mounts and everything were in great condition and cleaned up real nice. Put some primer on it. Lower cover cleaned up, primed up, and put some paint on it. Now this paint, I've said before in my other videos, comes from the auto parts store It's a high heat, chemical resistant engine paint that I use. New gasket and power head back in. Coming along nice. This thing cleaned up real nice. Everything was looking good. Ordered up some new coils. I like new coils. I even pulled the pull start apart, cleaned the spring all up, no grease on it. New starter pawl. Pull rope was in great shape. And reassembled, ready to go. And as long as I was ordering up new parts, I went ahead and ordered the new impeller for it. I was also still having an issue with water getting in the gear case. So, pulled everything apart again, and as it turns out, you see that brass bushing in there? That's the shift shaft bushing, and there's a rubber O-ring in there that goes bad. Well, that's where the water was coming in. I had to tap the bushing and pull it out with a makeshift puller. New O-ring, and solved all the water leaking issues. And just to give you an idea how crappy this thing was running before I did all the changes, take a look at the drive shaft and gear shift shaft and see how black they've turned from the first couple of runs. Anyway, change the oil in the gear case and back down to the lake. Okay, here we go. President's Day 2015, Lake Conway, Orlando, Florida. And yes, I was still using my little Kodak camera. Pretty crappy quality, but what can I say? It's all I had at the time. I started bringing all my fishing gear on these test runs, kind of kill two birds with one stone. I also sanded down the hood and repainted it too. 25 miles per hour on the GPS, which is right on the button with my 15-foot Duracraft John boat, and a 25 horse Johnson. I put these motors, these old outboards, through the paces when I take them out on the test run, and I was hot dogging this puppy all over the place. Well, there you go. Another resurrection from this old outboard. 1972 Johnson short shaft tiller. Idles great, runs great, looks great. Bing bang boom, baby. What more could you ask for? Thanks so much for watching my video. Check out my other outboard videos too. I got tons more stuff coming up, so check me out. It's This Old Outboard. You know the channel.